Phil Mickelson has played one competitive round of golf in 2026. One. That's it. The man who once fist-pumped his way to a major victory at age 50 has essentially vanished from the sport he helped define. The Masters came and went. No Phil. The PGA Championship? No Phil. The US Open? He accepted an exemption, but that feels like a formality now. The Open Championship? He withdrew. For the first time since 1990, Phil Mickelson will miss every single major in a calendar year. Here's what makes this confusing. Back in 2021, he was the oldest major winner in history. He hugged his brother, raised the Wanamaker Trophy, and looked like he'd never slow down. Fast forward to now, and he's barely visible. There are reasons being given: a family health matter, a child who's been unwell. And that's real. That's painful. But if you follow golf closely, you know that explanation doesn't cover everything. Because while Phil has been absent from the course, other stories have been quietly building off it. Rumors, investigations, allegations that would make any player's reputation wobble. Clubs that no longer want him around, people from his past speaking up, and a wife who stood by him through cancer treatments, who now finds herself photographed without her wedding ring. So where is Phil Mickelson? And what actually happened? The man who once had golf at his feet has nowhere to put his bag. And the tragedy isn't that he's losing his game, it's that he might be losing everything else along with it. Here's my take. Phil's legacy is already cemented, but the way this ends, that's what history will really remember. Do you think he deserves a farewell tour, or has he burned too many bridges? Drop your view in the comments. And if you want the full story, hit subscribe, because we're about to go deep. We have one competitive round, 4 missed majors, and a silence that speaks louder than any press release. But before we figure out where he's going, we have to remember exactly who we lost. May 2021, Kiawah Island, the PGA Championship. Phil Mickelson, 50 years old, walks the ocean course like he owns it. The wind is howling, the rough is thick enough to lose a golf ball in, and the guys he's playing against, they grew up watching him on TV. They're in their 20s and 30s. They hit it miles. None of it matters. Phil shoots a final round 73. That number sounds ordinary until you see everyone else's scorecard. The wind chews up the field. One by one, the young guys stumble. Brooks Koepka fades on the back 9. Louis Oosthuizen can't find the magic that carried him through 3 rounds. And Phil just keeps smiling, keeps grinding, keeps finding fairways when it matters most. He wins. 50 years old. Oldest major champion in golf history. He breaks Julius Boros's record that stood for over 50 years. No one his age had ever lifted a major trophy in the modern era. Phil made the impossible look routine. The scene at the end is pure Phil. He hugs his brother Tim, who's on the bag that week. He raises the Wanamaker Trophy like he's done it 100 times before. The crowd roars. Golf writers call it the greatest story in the sport's modern era. For a few weeks, nobody talks about Tiger, or the young stars, or anything else. It's all Phil. That's the version of Phil Mickelson that lives in highlight reels. The guy who fist pumps on the 18th green. The guy who signs autographs until security drags him away. The guy who plays impossible recovery shots from pine straw and somehow makes it look easy. He made golf feel like art when everyone else was playing it like science. He wasn't just a player. He was the counterbalance to Tiger Woods, the smiling left-hander who made the sport feel fun, accessible, almost human. He'd joke with the gallery mid-round. He'd chase risk when no one else would. Every tournament felt more alive when Phil was in contention. But that version of Phil? He's been getting harder to find. He kept playing after Kiawah. He kept chasing majors, kept showing up at tournaments, kept grinding. The results weren't always there, but the effort was. And the fans still loved him. They saw the gray in his beard, the lines on his face, and they still believed. And then something changed. It wasn't one moment. It was a slow, creeping shift. The kind you don't notice until it's already happened. The smiles became fewer. The autograph sessions got shorter. The warmth that defined him started feeling manufactured. Meanwhile, the sport itself was changing around him. New tours were forming. Massive money was being thrown around. Young players were getting richer and louder. And Phil, who had always played by his own rules, found himself caught between the world he knew and the world that was coming. He started speaking differently too, more guarded, more defensive. The interviews that used to be full of jokes started sounding different, like he was protecting something, like he knew something the rest of us didn't. And then the rumors started. Quiet at first, whispers in the locker room, mentions in golf podcasts, nothing confirmed, just chatter. Something about Phil, something off the course. It was the kind of gossip that fades fast. Except this time, it didn't fade. But the rumors grew, and the appearances grew fewer, and the silence around him started feeling louder than anything he could say. The legend of Phil Mickelson is secure, but the man is still walking towards something we can't quite see, and whatever it is, it's changing how golf will remember him. By early 2026, the whispers had become headlines. February 1st, Phil Mickelson announces he's stepping away from golf. The reason given? A family health matter. Vague, private. The kind of statement that makes people nod respectfully and then immediately start guessing. His team releases a short statement. Unfortunately, I will not play in the Masters tournament next week and will be out for an extended period of time as my family continues to navigate a personal health matter. That's it. No details, no timeline, no return date. Just a carefully worded paragraph that says everything and nothing at the same time. Golf fans respect privacy. They really do. But when a six-time major winner simply vanishes without explanation, curiosity is inevitable. Golf forums light up. Podcasters start guessing. Is it Amy? Is it one of the kids? Is it something else entirely? The lack of clarity only fuels the fire. The official story says family health, and maybe that's the full truth. But here's what we know for sure. Phil misses the Masters. Then he misses the PGA Championship. Then he misses the US Open. Then he withdraws from the Open Championship. 4 majors, 0 appearances. To put that in perspective, Phil Mickelson hasn't missed a single major in a year since 1990. That's 36 years of showing up, grinding, and competing. Even when he was struggling, he was there. He honored the tournaments. He honored the fans. He understood that showing up mattered almost as much as winning. Now, nothing. His last competitive round was in March at a LIV golf event in South Africa. He finished tied for 48th. He shot 7 under par, which sounds fine until you realize the winner shot 25 under. Phil was never in contention. He looked like a guy going through the motions, and then he disappeared again. His teammates on the High Flyers GC were asked about him. Their answers were careful, polite, but you could hear the distance. Obviously, we want Phil here, Brendan Steele said. We wish him well. We want him to be happy and healthy. That's the kind of thing you say about someone you used to know. Lee Westwood put it differently. Obviously, Phil is a big draw. He has a lot of fans. There's certain people over the years that's moved the needle, and Phil is one of them. Past tense. Has moved the needle. Not moves. Not is moving. Past. The golf world was starting to talk about Phil in the past tense, and nobody knew why. A family crisis is enough to keep any player away. But while Phil was citing health reasons, other stories were quietly surfacing. Stories that painted a very different picture. June 11th, 2026. Golf Digest publishes a report that shakes the golf world. Phil Mickelson has been removed from the Farms Golf Club in Rancho Santa Fe, California. The reason? Allegations of non-consensual and inappropriate physical contact with a female employee. This isn't a tabloid rumor. It's a major golf publication citing club officials. The club issues a statement. Following a staff member report of member misconduct, the club provided immediate and ongoing support to the staff member, conducted a thorough independent investigation, and took decisive action. This individual is no longer a member of the Farms Golf Club. Decisive action. No longer a member. That's not a suspension. That's an expulsion. The kind of decision that requires evidence. Phil's camp fires back immediately. His defamation attorney says the accusations are squarely contradicted by objective video evidence. He claims any misunderstanding has been cleared up. Phil continues to attend to a family health matter. Video evidence? That's a strong claim. But no video is released. No proof is offered. It's just a denial. A denial that doesn't explain why one of the most famous golfers in the world was kicked out of his own club. If the video existed, why not release it? But it doesn't stop there. A few weeks later, Scratch, the golf publication run by journalist Alan Shipnuck, drops an investigation. The bombshell? Phil Mickelson is no longer welcome at 3 California golf clubs, not just the Farms. 3. The report alleges a pattern of inappropriate behavior toward women. Multiple clubs, multiple incidents. The kind of pattern that suggests this isn't a one-time misunderstanding. It suggests something consistent, something repeated. Phil's camp says he has never been expelled from a golf club and that his decisions to leave clubs were his alone. But the denials are starting to sound hollow. The pattern is too consistent, and the golf world is starting to ask, who is Phil Mickelson really? The club allegations were damaging enough, but then came the allegation that changed everything. Not from a club, but from someone who knew him personally. Ashley Perez, ex-wife of former PGA Tour pro Pat Perez. She goes public with a story that stops golf fans cold. She claims that in 2015, during a tournament near New York, Phil Mickelson showed her a nude photo of himself, and then he propositioned her. "I'm going to leave my bedroom door open tonight," she says he told her. "When Pat falls asleep, I want you to come see me." Phil Mickelson, married to Amy, a cancer survivor, a woman he publicly adored, allegedly propositioned the wife of a fellow player, and sent an explicit photo to back it up. Perez doesn't stop there. She says Mickelson has done this for a long time, but people couldn't come forward publicly because he's Phil Mickelson. He is self-centered and narcissistic. He needs to realize how many people he has hurt to change. That's a direct quote, a specific accusation, a story with names, dates, and details. This isn't anonymous gossip. This is someone putting her name on the record, knowing exactly what it would cost her. Phil's representatives respond. They suggest a misunderstanding for which he later apologized. They don't deny the photo. They don't deny the proposition. They acknowledge something happened. They just frame it as a misunderstanding. For golf fans, this is devastating. The man who represented family values, loyalty, and class is now associated with explicit photos, public propositions, and casual cruelty. The image of the smiling left-hander is shattered. And then there's the timing. Ashley Perez's accusation surfaces in the middle of Phil's family health crisis. While he's supposedly dealing with a sick child, he's also dealing with allegations of decades of inappropriate behavior. It's a collision of crises that no one could have predicted. Golf journalists start digging deeper. A picture emerges of a man who was protected for years because of his status, because he was Phil Mickelson, because he moved the needle, because he was too big to fail. But now he's failing, publicly, messily, and there's no one left to protect him. 1 scandal is a mistake. 2 is a pattern. But 3, 4, 5, that's a destruction. And Phil Mickelson is standing in the middle of it. To understand how we got here, you have to go back a few years. 2022, the birth of LIV Golf. Phil Mickelson is one of the first big names to defect. He leaves the PGA Tour for Saudi-backed millions. And the reaction is brutal. Fans feel betrayed. Fellow players feel abandoned. The golf world splits in two, those who took the money and those who stayed. But it's not just the defection that hurts Phil. It's how he handled it. In an interview, Phil calls the Saudis scary motherf***ers. He admits he knows about their human rights record. He knows about the murder of Jamal Khashoggi. And then he says, "We all know they killed Khashoggi. I have a problem with that. But you have to look at the bigger picture." For Phil, the bigger picture was money. He wanted leverage against the PGA Tour. He wanted to force change. And he was willing to align himself with a regime that his own country has condemned. That interview destroyed Phil's reputation. He went from beloved underdog to greedy sellout in the span of a few paragraphs. Sponsors dropped him. Friends stopped calling. The media turned hostile. The man who once had the world at his feet was suddenly radioactive. And then came the gambling. In 2023, Billy Walters, a convicted insider trader and former friend of Phil, published a book. In it, he claimed Phil had wagered $1 billion on sports bets. The number was so astronomical, it almost didn't seem real. Phil didn't deny it. He admitted to a gambling addiction. He said he was getting help. He said he was in therapy. But the damage was done. His betting wasn't fun. It was compulsive. It was addiction. It was a sickness that consumed him. The insider trading investigation added another layer. Phil was questioned. Walters went to prison. Phil was never charged, but the connection was public. Phil Mickelson wasn't just a golfer. He was a guy who ran with criminals and bet like a millionaire. By 2024, the shine was gone. The wins were fewer. The fans were divided. And Phil was starting to look isolated. He had no tour to call home. The PGA Tour didn't want him. LIV Golf was a mess. His caddy was gone. His friends were gone. His reputation was in tatters. And then 2026 arrived. He bet on himself, lost, and kept betting. But the real loss wasn't money. It was everything that came after. Now let's talk about Amy. Because you can't understand the tragedy of Phil Mickelson without understanding Amy. In 2003, Amy nearly died giving birth to their youngest child. Complications arose. She hemorrhaged. Phil rushed to her side, pulling out of tournaments, canceling appearances. He was there when she needed him most. Then in 2009, Amy was diagnosed with breast cancer. She was 40 years old, she had 3 kids, and Phil stepped away from golf. He missed the Open Championship that year to be with her during treatment. He didn't hesitate, he just left. "That's a no-brainer," he said. "The most important thing is her health." Those words became part of Phil's legend. He wasn't just a great golfer, He was a great husband, a man who prioritized family over fame. Amy fought the cancer. She won. And for years, she was the quiet strength behind Phil's career. She was the one he credited for his success. She was the one he hugged after every major win. But in 2026, the pictures tell a different story. July 2026. Paparazzi capture Amy Mickelson in public. She's not wearing her wedding ring. The ring that Phil put on her finger in 1996. The ring that symbolized 3 decades of marriage, 3 children, cancer battles, and public triumphs. It's gone. No announcement. No statement. Just a missing ring. Phil's spokesperson says, Amy supports Phil with extraordinary grace and unwavering love. But the words ring hollow next to the image. A wife without a wedding ring doesn't look like a woman who's standing by her man. She looks like a woman who's had enough. The allegations, the scandals, the public humiliation, the gambling, the explicit photos, the club expulsions. It's a mountain of betrayal that would break any marriage. Amy has endured more than anyone should have to endure, and yet she's still there, even if her ring isn't. Amy is the one person who could save Phil's reputation. If she stands by him publicly, the narrative changes. She could be the proof that he's not the monster the media paints. Instead, she's photographed without her ring, and the silence from both of them is deafening. No tour, no major, and possibly no family to lean on. So what does a 56-year-old legend do when the game leaves him behind? The experts weigh in. Alan Shipnuck is blunt. If Live Golf goes away next year, Phil's a man without a country. He has nowhere to play. Mark Allen, a former PGA Tour pro, agrees. It will be very difficult for Mickelson to compete in top-tier tours again. It's sad to see his career end this way. End. That's the word they use. End. Not pause, not break, end. But here's the twist. The USGA gave Phil an exemption into the 2026 US Open. He could play if he wants to. He could show up at Shinnecock Hills and try to prove everyone wrong. But does he want to? Does he have anything left? At 56, Phil is ancient by golf standards. The young guys hit it miles. They putt with robotic precision. Phil was always a feel player, a gambler, a guy who trusted his hands over his head. That worked in 2021. In 2026, with all the distractions, it's unlikely to work again. Even if he plays, the setup will be brutal. Shinnecock Hills is one of the toughest courses. The last time the US Open was there, in 2018, players complained it was unfair. The scoring average was above 75 on the 3rd round. It was survival, not golf. Phil has always hated that kind of setup. He prefers courses where creativity is rewarded. Shinnecock punishes risk. It's the worst possible venue for a player who's already lost his edge. If Phil plays and misses the cut, it's a sad ending. If he plays and withdraws, it's worse. And if he doesn't play at all, it's a quiet disappearance. The kind that leaves fans wondering what happened to the guy who once made golf feel magical. The tragedy of Phil Mickelson isn't a single moment. It's the slow realization that the man we admired isn't who we thought he was, and now he's standing at the edge of a cliff with no one to catch him. So where does that leave us? Phil Mickelson has played 1 competitive round in 2026. He has missed 4 majors. He has been accused of inappropriate behavior at multiple golf clubs. He has been accused of propositioning a fellow player's wife. He has lost his reputation. He has lost his friends. He may have lost his family, and he has no clear path back to the game that made him famous. The US Open exemption is a formality, a footnote. Phil is 56, rusty, distracted, and probably broken. Even if he plays, he won't win. The fairy tale ending died a long time ago. So what is the tragedy? It's not that Phil lost his golf game. He's 56. That was going to happen eventually. It's not that he got old. Age comes for everyone. The tragedy is that Phil had everything: talent, wealth, fame, a loving family, and the adoration of millions. And he threw it away. He threw it away with gambling, with arrogance, with bad decisions and worse judgment. He aligned himself with dictators, insulted his own fans, and treated the game with contempt. He burned bridges he should have protected. And now, at 56, he's alone. No farewell tour, no victory lap, no final putt on the 18th green, with the crowd chanting his name. Just silence. Just the hollow echo of what used to be. Phil won't get what Tiger got. He won't get the standing ovation. He won't get the tribute videos. He won't get the week-long celebration. He won't even get a chance to say goodbye. He'll just fade. Quietly. Unnoticed. Gone from the tee sheet like he was never there. Golf fans remember Phil as the smiling left-hander who won at 50, but history will remember him differently. History will remember the scandals, the allegations, the gambling, and the fall. History will remember a man who had everything and lost it all. One competitive round, 4 missed majors, a family in crisis, a reputation in ruins, a career that ended not with a putt, but with a whimper. Here's my final take. The game will move on. It always does. But what happened to Phil Mickelson? That's a cautionary tale for every player, every fan, and every person who thinks fame protects you from your own choices. One thing's for sure, golf won't forget Phil Mickelson, but it might have to move on without him. If this story hit you the way it hit me, hit that subscribe button. We'll keep tracking every twist, every turn, and every major, because this story isn't over yet.